Next up, the team that Portland played in that Scoot game, the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets were the best team I saw at Summer League, point blank. I've talked a lot on the previous podcast that I'm like sick. Like, did I do that with you? Did I do it with somebody else? I don't remember.
I don't
Who
remember
knows?
either. Yeah.
We talked about on the last episode of the show, we talked about Jabari and Tari. I think there's a real case that those were probably outside of like Scoot and Vic and like, whatever you want to call them. I thought Jabari and Tari were the two best players I saw at Summer League, along with Chet. I would say Jabari, Tari, and Chet were probably the three that I saw. And I was just like, these guys belong nowhere near this court. They are way too good. Let's just move on. And like with Jabari, you want to get him the reps. You want to get him going as much as you can, right? Like I get it. But with Jabari and Tari, I thought they were phenomenal. But I've talked about them already. Let's talk about Amen Thompson to start. Amen only played one game, very similarly to Scoot Henderson, rolled his ankle and ended up sitting out the rest of the Summer League. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
The athleticism is outrageous. The two plays that stood out for me with him were he had these two just ridiculous first step drives where he just completely blew by everybody, used that like enormous length extension to be able to get there and took like an inside hand left-handed finish. It was absurd. Brian K brings up J-Dub was the best player at Summer League. Yeah, he played like one game in Utah, if I remember correctly. And it was just like he had 20 points at halftime. And it was like, why the fuck is this guy playing?
Yeah.
Agree. Jalen Williams was phenomenal. But Jabari Smith, I think, or Amen Thompson, I think, was quite good. We saw the passing flashes. He had a couple, especially. He got really comfortable, I thought, in the third quarter before he got hurt, and really started to show some of the passing flashes that we all expected to see. Everything I saw from Amen Thompson was what I'd hoped to see, and I am excited to watch more.
100%. He had an intriguing floater that he was able to get to in the mid-range area too, which I want to make sure we note a little bit because that was a
Big
critique.
Call.
That was a critique that you and I kind of had of his game in the pre-draft process. There wasn't much in between, that he either plays 100 miles an hour towards the rim and it's breathtakingly fast, or he's kind of dribbling around being a little bit slower. He has to get to a pull-up jumper. To have that runner or just that in-between game that he flashed, even in the smallest of ways, I think was really encouraging.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that runner. I was like actually kind of surprised when he made that. Like, yeah. I was like, wait, you can do that now? And he can. And the fact that he can do it now is huge. Brian Roby brings up the block from a standstill on a driving Shaedon Sharpe. It's just like the stuff him and Asar can do athletically. And we'll talk about Asar next, but like the level they are at athletically is obscene. It is completely absurd.
They're nuts. They are absolutely nuts. And look, it was one game of Amen. Like, I thought he looked really, really strong. Was glad to see him get those reps in there. There were so many guys on that Houston Rockets team that it did feel like a positive for everybody that they kind of cycled through different guys and like progressively shut people down so that you could see more and more and more from everybody else. They still have so many young bodies, but it didn't matter what game it was or which players were on the court. I thought the Rockets had a real consistent defensive identity and were really pressuring and using their athleticism for the best. Loved to see that here in Summer League. Like, if there's one long-term positive takeaway from what we have with the Houston Rockets, yeah, you can pinpoint individuals and how they played and how they fared and be really thrilled with it. But collectively, how all of these athletic pieces are going to fit under Ime Udoka and what their coaching staff has in mind. Like, this is going to be a fun, pressuring, aggressive team that probably develops a defensive identity rather quickly.
Just the guy that stands out most in regard to like the scheme and just like their overall competence at Summer League, maybe is the way to put it, is Matthew Mayer. Like, yes. Matthew Mayer in 3 games has dropped 14 and 7 He's shooting 38% from three on like 7 3-point attempts per game. I guess like you would kind of expect Matthew Mayer to be successful in a situation like this. But like if Matthew Mayer's coming in and just cannon threes like it's nobody's business, yeah, we probably got a pretty competent scheme here, and we've got a lot of confident play going on with the Houston Rockets, and they deserve a lot of credit. I think they deserve a ton of credit for, Ben Sullivan did a great job as their coach. Like I think that they ran like really competent stuff, and also like they were just so much more athletic than everybody, which is the whole thing of what they've been building. Like they've been building these ridiculously athletic front lines and backcourts and wings and everything. And speaking of ridiculously athletic, Summer League MVP Cam Whitmore, folks, we're back. The amount of shit that I got from people for ranking Cam Whitmore in the top 5 when he goes 20, I still felt great about it. Because you know why? Like I've talked about, like I've done the intel, like I've done all the research into it. Like I would still have him in the top 5 easy. I have no real concerns because guys like this who are as athletic and powerful and physical as Cam Whitmore is, they tend not to fail when they are this productive as teenagers. Cam Whitmore is 6'7" with like reasonable length. He is about as bouncy and springy and powerful as you will find. He is fine defensively. Like that's always been the thing. I think people were like, oh yeah, this guy like doesn't want to be out there defensively, like doesn't care. No, he's like pretty good defensively. Like he's willing to fight and scratch and claw, especially on the ball. Like Cam Whitmore is good. Period. Would I have voted him MVP? No, I probably look, the best players I saw at Summer League, again, were probably Jabari, Tari, and Chet. If you made me pick a guy that played like a lot of games at Summer League, I think I would have picked Sam Merrill, to be honest, as the MVP. But I don't think it's like an unreasonable selection to have Cam Whitmore if you're looking for somebody that played a bunch of games and was like ridiculously productive. Like Cam Whitmore is absolutely a monster. Like he's truly a monster.
I know, Sam.
Cam Whitmore did not turn 20 or did not. I'm sorry. No, Cam Whitmore did not turn 19 until Summer League started. Look, I've gone through like the list of Summer League MVPs. I can't imagine there's ever been a younger Summer League MVP than Cam Whitmore. I mean, he just turned 19, like literally last week. Everything that I have seen from Cam Whitmore says to me, this guy is going to be really good. Like, look, there are holes here. We're not going to sit here and pretend like he was
right
across the board great. But in 5 games, he's averaged 20.4 points, 5.6 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 3 steals per game. And he started the tournament at fucking 18 years old. This dude's a dude. This is a dude, Cam Whitmore. I don't know. Like, I'll ask you this. How much do you think Cam Whitmore plays this year?
Oh, I think after this performance, they're going to want to carve out at least 8 to 15 minutes a night within that rotation for him. Try to let him be active, be energetic on defense, see if he can create a spark for you. I don't see him really cracking the rotation too much ahead of that, just because they've got enough other competent bodies at those positions. Went out and signed Dylan Brooks. Jabari and Tari are 2 guys that we talked about, just a little bit better and ahead of him in the pecking order right now. I think he's fringe rotation, like a guy who should be getting consistent minutes.
Yeah, like I think he probably could play in the NBA next year. I think it's just going to require like somebody getting hurt in their rotation. Like I would imagine Jayshawn Tate is probably like a more impactful guy as a bench player next year than Cam Whitmore. But also like there's a chance that Cam Whitmore is just so athletic that it doesn't matter and you have to play him. You just kind of have to play him, right? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar to Tari Eason last year. Like I thought Tari Eason like might have a little bit of a runway before he played, but at the end of the day, like motor and athleticism won out, right? I think Cam is probably like a level behind right now. Tari, I guess I would say, just in terms of Tari's a little bit longer. I think he's better defender.
Yes.
His motor is like Tari's motor is just absurd. But Cam's motor was good throughout Summer League. Like it was quite good. He played hard the whole way. The thing with Cam is that he is like a shot maker and scorer more than anything right now.
Sure.
And there were a lot of moments at Summer League where it was like missed reversals, did the typical Cam Whitmore thing, which is stop and survey. I'm going to take like the right-handed dribble. I'm going to cross over to the left. I'm going to hezzy in. I'm going to get to the step back and try and shoot the three. Like there was a lot of that. Like we're not going to sit here and pretend like he was perfect. He was far from perfect at Summer League, but like being able to create shots at the level he was, being able to create pull up threes, being able to create shots at the basket, being able to just drive to the rim and get there even a lot of the time. Yeah, I am. I have seen nothing that makes me jump off of my Cam Whitmore is going to be like a top 5 guy in this draft class take.
Sure. Like, he looked very good because his athleticism pops and he's just that imposing of a player once he gets downhill. Like, does he still have more tunnel vision than Kodak Black? Like, absolutely. He's got to find ways to become a little bit better passer, particularly on the move. Like, once he starts dribbling, you know exactly what he's going to do. And he's
Oh, totally.
he's pretty rigid in his decision making as soon as he gets going. Like, those are things long term that have to improve. But even though we didn't see those improvements this early, it's so nice to know that he's going to be an impactful player regardless, just because he's that damn good of an athlete. Like it definitely translates.
It 100% translates. I just want to note as well, because I found this a little bit funny. So Cam Whitmore attempted 7 shots per game at Summer League at the rim. Brandon Miller in his 5 games, I think, attempted 11 total at the rim in Summer League. If you reduce this to half court, Cam Whitmore attempted, I think it was 19, whereas Brandon Miller attempted like 8 or something at the rim. Like it's just a different deal. And on top of that, like, you know, he shot better at the rim than what Brandon Miller did too. Like he shot 63% at the rim in half court settings. So yeah, tunnel vision on drives, you know, needs to improve as a passer. Also averaged 2 assists per game this year, or, you know, 2.4. He had 12 assists for the Houston Rockets at Summer League after having 19 assists in 26 games for Villanova this year. I think that it's just a bad situation at Villanova. I really do. And I think people way overthought it. And Cam Whitmore's a good basketball player, and I feel good about where I'm at on him.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know this firsthand, but Cam Whitmore, good at basketball.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.